And we've got the growth in Q3 FY25, which is expected to show an upward bias. It is likely to be in the range of about 6.3, driven by increased government spending and revival in rural consumption as well. Let me take it across to Gaurav from our research desk and help understand what the ET Now poll is penciling in for the GDP data.
India's GDP growth numbers will come out very soon, and when we look at estimates, now Street is expecting around 6.3% growth for third quarter of FY25 for India. And the reason being that there are two reasons specifically: rise in government spending, and second is that when we look at consumption specifically in the rural area, there has been an uptick there, and that is the reason why Street is expecting this growth to remain somewhere in the range of 6.3%. Now let's not forget that this will be lower if we compare on a year-on-year basis, because in the last quarter, last year same quarter, we saw a growth of around 8.6%, but there are some global uncertainties which are happening. But on the other hand, if we compare it on a quarter-on-quarter basis, last quarter we saw India's growth was at around 5.4%, which was slowest in the last 7 quarters. So it is definitely expected to be higher than what we have seen in the last quarter. Other than that, when we look at GVA, which is gross value added, there also we are expecting to see the number somewhere in the range of 6.2 to 6.3%. And what it will do is that it will actually eradicate the gap that we have seen in GVA and GDP growth for first half of FY25. There are certain sectors why investors and analysts believe that GDP growth could be around 6.3%. And first is that agri segment. Now there we may see growth in the somewhere in the range of 4.8% versus what it was at 3.5%. On the other hand, industry is also likely to perform well. It is expected to grow somewhere in the range of 5.7%, and this will be driven by corporate performance and at the same time some kind of private sector increase in the GVA segment. Lastly, when we look at services segment, now in this segment we may see a little bit of slowdown on a sequential basis. It is expected to grow somewhere in the range of 7%. The growth that we have seen last quarter was at 7.1%. When we look at some of the GDP estimates, let's also not forget that National Service Statistics Office will also come out with their second advanced GDP estimates for full year, and any kind of downward revision in the previous numbers can actually possess upward risk for GDP estimates. Let's also not forget that RBI has also revised the GDP growth numbers downward for FY25 to around 6.4%, and amidst the global uncertainty that we are seeing and increase in USD INR interest rate and the swap rate, definitely it will be worth watching out for is how India's GDP number come out and how the outlook remains for Q4 FY25.
All right. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for getting us all those details. So definitely we'll watch out for that data.